Welcome to the Books Bible Study. We are continuing in Exodus chapter 36, verse 1 reads, And Bezalel and Aholiab, and every gifted artisan in whom the Lord has put wisdom and understanding to know how to do all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary, shall do according to all that the Lord has commanded. So if you think about yourselves, what is it that God has blessed you to do, right? Because these people were not only blessed to do this for the house of God, this will also bless them outside of the house of God as well. But they had a willing heart to bring their talents to work in the tabernacle, and God blessed it, right? Verse 2 says, Then Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab and every gifted artisan in whose heart the Lord had put wisdom, everyone whose heart was stirred, remember he's repeating this from the last chapter, to come and do the work. So these were people that were willing to do the work, all of them. Verse 3 says, And they received from Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of making the sanctuary. So they continue bringing to him free will offerings every morning. So this is how they continued to have everything that they needed to build this sanctuary, to build this tabernacle for God. Verse 4, Then all the craftsmen who were doing all the work of the sanctuary came, each from the work he was doing. Verse 5, And they spoke to Moses, saying, The people bring much more than enough for the service of the work which the Lord commanded us to do. Verse 6, So Moses gave a commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, Let neither man nor woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. And the people were restrained from bringing. Verse 7, For the material they had was sufficient for all the work to be done, indeed, too much. So they ended up with more than enough, so much so that they had to stop giving, right? This is how many people's heart was stirred and moved, and they willingly gave these free will offerings to help in the temple. That's what it looks like when God appoints people, right? And they obey, right? When he appoints them and he gives them an instruction and they obey and they're willing to build, you will end up with more than what you need all the time. Verse 8 says, Then all the gifted artisans among them who worked on the tabernacle made 10 curtains woven of fine linen and of blue, purple, and scarlet thread. With artistic designs of cherubim, they made them. And so I want you all to remember that God had already given this instruction exactly to the T in Exodus 26, verse 1. So Exodus 36 and 8 is the exact same instruction God gave in Exodus 26 and 1. And it'll keep going straight down Exodus 26 in that order. So verse 9 says, The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The curtains were all the same size. Exodus 26 and 2 matches perfectly with Exodus 36 and 9. Verse 10 says, And he coupled 5 curtains to one another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled to one another. So they started off with 10. They put 5 together, so now they have 2 longer curtains. Verse 11 says, He made loops of blue yarn on the edge of the curtain on the selvage of one set. Likewise, he did on the outer edge of the other curtain of the second set. Okay, so if you want to go back and kind of break down what each measurement is in feet and inches, right, and what the designs mean, and you can go back to these chapters to see exactly the detail of the design. So in Exodus 25, we go in detail about the ark, the mercy seat, the table, and the lampstand. Exodus 26, like I just said, talks about the tabernacle structure. Exodus 27 talks about the altar and the courtyard. Exodus 28 talks about the priestly garments. Exodus 29 discusses the priestly consecration. And then Exodus 30 talks about the making of the incense altar and the anointing oil. Okay, so if you went through these chapters with us already, we can continue reading. So if you want details about the specific instruction, go back and listen to Exodus 25 through Exodus 30 so you can know what it is in our time. Okay? Verse 12 says, 50 loops he made on one curtain, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain on the end of the second set. The loops held one curtain to another. Verse 13. And he made 50 clasps of gold and coupled the curtains to one another with the clasps, that it may be one tabernacle. Verse 14. He made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. He made 11 curtains. Verse 15. The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The 11 curtains were the same size. Again, this is Exodus 36 and 15. It matches the exact instruction he gave in Exodus 26 and 8. Okay? Verse 16 says he coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. Verse 17, and he made 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain of the second set. Verse 18, he also made 50 bronze clasps to couple the tent together, that it might be one. Verse 19, then he made a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of badger skins above that. Verse 20, for the tabernacle he made boards of acacia wood standing upright. Verse 21, the length of each board was 10 cubits, and the width of each board a cubit and a half. The exact same instruction in Exodus 26 and 16. Exact same measurements, right? Verse 22, each board had 2 tenons for binding one to another. Thus he made for all the boards of the tabernacle. Verse 23, and he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side. Exodus 26:18 says the exact same thing, exact same direction, right? Verse 24, 40 sockets of silver he made to go under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. Verse 25, and for the other side of the tabernacle, the north side, he made 20 boards. Verse 26, and there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. Verse 27, for the west side of the tabernacle he made 6 boards. Verse 28, he also made 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the tabernacle. Verse 29, and they were coupled at the bottom and coupled together at the top by one ring. Thus he made both of them for the 2 corners. Verse 30, so there were 8 boards in their sockets, 16 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. So those other chapters were the instructions, right? And they are building out and doing exactly the way that God said it, right? Verse 31, he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the tabernacle. Verse 32, 5 boards for the boards on the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle on the far side westward. Verse 33, and he made the middle bar to pass through the boards from one end to the other. Verse 34, he overlaid the boards with gold, made their rings of gold to be holders for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. Remember, all of this, all of the construction equipment, all of the curtains, all of that was brought every morning. All of the material they need was brought every morning until they had so much they had to tell people to stop giving. Okay, verse 35 says, and he made a veil of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. It was worked with an artistic design of cherubim. Verse 36, he made for it 4 pillars of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, with their hooks of gold, and he cast 4 sockets of silver for them. Verse 37, he also made a screen for the tabernacle door of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen made by a weaver. Verse 38, and its 5 pillars with their hooks, and he overlaid their capitals and their rings with gold, but their 5 sockets were bronze. So these are the exact, to the T, the direction, where they're going, which corner it is, the exact instructions that God gave in Exodus 26. And yes, I checked. If you know me, you know I checked, right? Every material he said to use, right? The color he said, put together how he said. And so it seems like to me that God chose correctly when he picked Moses, right? Even though Moses had his own self-doubt, God knew that Moses would relay his exact instruction, right? And ensure its proper place, its proper purpose with the people that he told Moses to put in charge of whatever he told him to put in charge. And also, he could trust Moses to come back to him, right? Moses spent so much time with God. So my question is, you see the communication that Moses has with God. Can God trust you like that? Like, we ask God for so much and we want to do so many things. And so when he tries to teach us or guide us in that direction so that we can become that, right? We often complain about it. Can you do what God says, right? Exactly the way that he tells you to. When I tell you these verses matches up perfectly with Exodus chapter 26. So even Aaron as the priest, right? Aaron needed Moses as a leader, right? Aaron was not a Moses, right? He was the mouthpiece that Moses felt that he needed. But God did not call Aaron to lead the children of Israel. He called Moses to, okay? God didn't feel that Moses needed Aaron. Moses felt that God should choose someone else, right? And so we saw what happened when he left Aaron to tend to the people, right? Now, Aaron is a servant. Aaron is a priest. And so, but still needed Moses to lead. Moses was called to lead the people out of Egypt and through the wilderness into the promised land. So that's just the dynamic that I just kind of was going over in my mind about how God didn't call Aaron to lead them. He called Moses to lead them. And so Aaron being left with them, we see what happened. He ended up fashioning a golden calf to worship and sacrifice to. And so it's very important that if you are called to lead, that you do exactly that, and you do exactly what God has commanded, and you say exactly what God has commanded you to say, right? And we're seeing this with Moses. Even if the people don't do, the ones that you're called to lead, even if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you are still called to do what you are supposed to do. So that concludes Exodus chapter 36. We have 4 more chapters, and we will be in Leviticus. So stay tuned. God bless.